and thank you for watching Leaders in Coffee here on Gables Insider. The election's coming up, and we wanted to talk to you a little about our state representative candidates. Joining us today is Pierre Bado, who is running for state representative here in the northern end of Coral Gables. Welcome to Leaders in Coffee.
Thank you, Ariel. It's great to be here. I apologize for not being so formal, but I'm running from here to go to a couple events in the district, and the humidity just doesn't do well for a suit and tie at this point.
It's summer in South Florida, although I think it's supposed to be fall already, right? I don't know. We never find out here in South Florida.
Yeah, I think it's been fall for about an hour and a half, actually.
So tell us, what motivated you to run for state representative?
Sure. I think at the most basic level, I fall back on the idea of service. And for those that don't know, very briefly, I am a West Point graduate, an Army veteran, now an attorney here in Miami. After I left the service, I attended University of Miami School of Business, and subsequently worked full-time, put myself through law school, and now have been a practicing litigator for several years. And so I was on my way to court when I got the call from a fellow Democrat who asked me if I'd be interested to run. And in that moment, I really hadn't given it a lot of thought. But as I did, I realized that I had accomplished something that I would never be able to top. And that was, as an Army officer, I had led 26 men into a combat zone and brought those 26 men home. But it's not fair for me to take sole credit for that achievement. What came to my mind was that, my soldiers and I, we came from all over this country. We did not have shared backgrounds or cultures or experiences, but we came together out of a profound belief in service. And together we kept people safe and unoppressed, and we brought each other home. And so I believe that's the type of leadership that we need in this district. Leaders that exhibit a sense of duty, of selfless service, that are willing to fight injustice in all its forms. And so, I did that for my country, and it seemed right to do that for my community as well.
What do you believe to be the largest issue affecting South Florida and our state today?
So without a doubt, it's COVID-19. If you take COVID-19 out of the equation, then there's different issues for our diverse community, right? The issues in Pinecrest, for example, really deal with the fact that they need state matching funds for septic to sewer. Practically all of Pinecrest is on septic tanks, and that is literally one bad storm away from a place we just don't want to be. If you go a little further south to Cutler Bay, you have the issues with transportation and people that just want to go to work, but knowing that US 1 is a parking lot, and they've got to cut through 87th or 97th or 107th. Those are residential areas. And so how do people get to work? If you look at here in the Gables, we've got a host of issues that deal with public education and bettering public education. We look at also the issues of sea level rise. And so aside from COVID, there's a diverse set of problems for our district. COVID specifically, I can tell you they fall under three main problems that people are calling into the district office for. Number one, folks are still getting kicked off of the portal, and just being able to access the system is still a problem even months down the road. Secondly, the issue is once they get on the system, people's benefits are just stopping for no reason. They get a check, they don't get a check the next week, they don't get a check the week after that, then a check comes in. There's no rhyme or reason to why the system is failing us, and we haven't had the leadership to go in and solve the problem. And then the third call that we're getting in this district relates to specifically testing, the need for it and the time it takes to get the results.
So as far as transportation, you briefly touched upon it. What can we do to improve the transportation system in South Florida from a state perspective?
Well, so a study was done, I believe, in 2017, 2018. And so we already have solutions that are readily available to alleviate traffic from short-term to long-term, right? I think, especially the further south in the district you get, there is a great desire to expand the metro rail system, right? That seems like the most obvious one, but that's also going to cost the most money, and that's the most long-term of the projects that we have. Really, what we need to do is have the political will to make these a priority. You know, what I tell people is that we passed a $93.5 billion budget several months ago. And in that budget, we have what I would consider to be a lot of fraud, waste, and abuse. If we remove that through transparent government, then what we have left over is not only a lower cost of government, but also more efficient cost of government, where we can then focus on the true needs of the people rather than whatever political party decides to focus on that particular day. So ultimately, we have the plans in place. We just haven't had the ability, I should say not the ability, but the political will to follow through on it. And COVID's only made that worse because rightfully so, you know, COVID is not just a health crisis, but an economic crisis, as well as what we're seeing even more in this district, a hunger crisis.
You mentioned sea level rise. Biscayne Bay has become a very precocious situation over the last couple of weeks with the current situation. Obviously, septic tanks do have a large effect on what we're seeing in Biscayne Bay. What do you propose we do to address that situation?
So that is, we need essentially a holistic approach. You know, one of the things about Biscayne Bay is that you don't necessarily have to be a resident or a citizen of District 114 to recognize that putting a wall across the beachfront or the waterfront areas is simply a no-go. However, there are natural resources that we can put in place to create natural buffers that will not only protect our shoreline, but also reinvigorate the marine life. And so my first response would be, let's not create a big stone wall that's going to run the length of the waterfront. My second response is, let's look at natural solutions that we can put into place. And then the third is, for more long-term benefits, we really need to do a study to come up with a scientifically backed response that can help us in the long term. Ultimately, we know that residing in Miami-Dade County, just about all of us are in the flood zone. And so that requires certain sacrifices, but also a certain amount of study.
What can we expect from a Jean-Pierre Bado state representative?
So I think one of the earliest lessons that I learned was that we're stronger together than we are divided. I'm greatly concerned with the amount of division that is both in our community as well as what we see at the state and national levels. I believe that there's more that unites us that divides us. And so my belief is that we need to partner together as a community. That means Democrats, independents, and Republicans, and find solutions that not only benefit us, but benefit our children, benefit our businesses, and benefit our quality of life. Call me naive, but I truly believe that those solutions are out there. And working together and looking past the partisanship that we've seen driven by our president, we need to move past that. And so my representation will be one of transparency, will be one of bringing people together, and will be one of moving forward for the sake of our community.
Jean-Pierre Bado, thank you so very much for joining us here on Leaders in Coffee and Gables Insider.
Ariel, thank you so much for the opportunity. I look forward to chatting in the future. Take care.
And thank you all so very much for watching. Tune in next time for another Leaders in Coffee on Gables Insider.